Also, it took a while to build stuff back then, I guess, because that's 9 years later. Okay. In 1858, the keeper's dwelling was built and still stands to this day. It is a white cone-shaped lighthouse, 47 feet high, and is the second oldest lighthouse in the state of Maine, added to the National Register of Historic Places in 1988. According to historic records, a gruesome murder-suicide took place there in the 1890s. And I found some places that said 1896, but most places said the 1890s, which makes me think maybe 1896 isn't exactly right.
Okay. Seems like a fair deduction.
Yeah. A drunken fisherman was squatting on the...
Oh, man. The best stories always start with, so the drunken fisherman.
Yeah, this is a sad story. But this drunken fisherman was squatting on the west end of the island and was involved in a fight. He was eventually located and confronted by the sheriff's deputy, who went to the squatter's shack on the island. Some accounts said that the fight was over like a chicken coop, but some people said it was over like a robbery, and so I don't really know what the fight was about. I don't think anyone really does.
Now, are we talking like a fist fight? Are we talking a gunfight? Are we talking about two guys yelling at each other across the street?
I don't know.
You said you didn't know what the fight was about, but I'm talking about, like, was it like a physical fight? Was it, you know, that YouTube video where the two guys are like giving each other the finger from other sides of the street very aggressively?
I have not seen that, but I would like to. You can show me after.
Okay.
The squatter murdered the sheriff's deputy by shooting him in the abdomen and quickly became guilt-stricken that he had killed the married father of 3. He ran to the lighthouse and tried to turn himself into the lighthouse keeper, Thomas Orcutt.
Who turns themselves into the lighthouse keeper? That doesn't even make any sense.
A drunk fisherman.
It's not like the lighthouse keeper is any sort of authority figure.
Well, he just killed the authority figure.
But
this is Saco, Maine in the 1890s. How many people lived up there? How many people live up there now?
No, I don't know.
Right. So, you know, he was a man of great authority. He ran the lighthouse.
We would make terrible attorneys. We ask all these questions and we don't know the answers.
Or we just then start making up our own answers. Orcutt was so alarmed by the ordeal that he turned the squatter away. The squatter was so overcome, he shot himself in the head with the same gun he had used to take the deputy's life. Legend has it that the ghost of the murdered deputy still haunts the lighthouse. Moans are heard coming from a nearby chicken coop shack owned by the deputy. And locked doors have been mysteriously opened at the lighthouse. Dark shadows have been observed near the lighthouse walkway at the top of the tower, and strange voices have also been heard. There have also been sightings of a woman, believed to be the deputy's wife, that haunts the lighthouse to this day. In 1905, lighthouse keeper Charles Burke took over for Orcutt. Soon after taking the position, Burke became so distraught, believing he was seeing and hearing ghosts. One evening, the spooky disruptions became so bad, he left his post at Wood Island Lighthouse unattended and stayed overnight at a boarding house on the mainland. He awoke the next day and jumped from one of the home's 3rd-story windows. Ba-da-da!
That's like 30 feet. I mean, that's like a broken leg.
Oh no, it killed him. He died.
He jumped head first?
Maybe. Don't know. Didn't ask. But you know who might have asked?
An attorney who was going to ask that question?
The New England Ghost Project when they investigated in fall of 2005. They were invited there to investigate the island and the lighthouse area. Shadowy figures were observed and recorded near the lighthouse and walkway. A medium was brought in, and the spirit, believed to be that of the drifter, was apologizing through the medium's trance. Another spirit, believed to be the deputy, made her feel as if he were severely injured and trying to get away from something. Wood Island Lighthouse Foundation now holds special events related to the hauntings to benefit the lighthouse restoration efforts. So if you are near the Saco Bay area, that could be something fun to do this October.
Or September. Or November. It could be fun anytime.
I don't know if they do it year-round.
Well, okay, fair enough. But I suppose you could just go out there and check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're in the Saco, Maine area.
Yes.
And take some pictures, and by all means, send us an update on how it went for you.
They have a lot of loons there. I like loons a lot. I think they're cool birds. In my research of this haunted area, they said there were a lot of loons.
I'm still stuck on the fact that there are shadowy figures. I like how it says that it doesn't say that it's shady figures that they saw. And now you're talking about loons and...
What are you talking about?
I don't know.
Okay. I like loons.
You're your mother's daughter. You guys love birds.
Yeah, I love birds.
It's okay. Sean loves birds too.
Birds are really nice. They're pleasant. I'm not like crazy like my mom though, and like do overboard with the birds. Not that she does overboard, but my mom can do like every bird call under the sun.
That's impressive.
Yeah. She and my father are avid birders.
Yes.
They love it. That is their joy of life.
Bird people.
Big bird people.
Big bird people.
No, they are. Should I tell the story about the stuffed bird in my living room growing up?
Is it haunted?
It's a wacky Abby story, and it's something dead.
Go for it.
Okay. So when I was in middle school, and I was trying to be a little vegetarian, and later I became a big vegetarian. But this rough grouse came and flew into our front door at my parents' house. And my mom was a stay-at-home mom, so she was in the kitchen, and she heard it hit the front door. And she went out and cradled it in her arms, and I guess it had broke its neck when it hit the door, and it died in her arms. And she said she felt the spirit of the animal, like, within her, and she felt like this really big connection with the bird. Yeah.
That sounds exactly like something that would happen with your mom.
Yeah, so it did. And again, she was like a stay-at-home mom, and we were at school. My dad was at work. So my mother took it upon herself to bring it to her taxidermist.
Because your mom has a taxidermist.
Of course she does.
Yeah.
And had it brought there because she wanted it stuffed so she could like remember this beautiful creature in all of its glory. But what it sometimes happens at taxidermists, what do they give people from animals?
Lice?
Nope.
I don't know.
The meat from the bird.
Gross.
Which my darling mother, in all of her glory, used to cook in stir fry for we can call him uptight, my uptight father, and my little brother. So I will never forget this as long as I live. We were eating dinner one night, and my dad goes, "Oh my gosh, Abby, this is like one of the best stir fries you've ever made." And she goes, "Thanks, Warren. It's the rough grouse." And my father was so like overcome, like he just like didn't even know how to respond. I just remember him putting his fork down, staring like deadlocked eyes with my mother, getting up, leaving the dinner table, walking to his car, and just driving away. Could not even be at the house at that time. And so to this day, we have this rough grouse that just sits by their TV like all the time. It's just always there. Whenever people come over, they're like, "What is that crazy bird in your parents' house?" And that's the story of my mom's rough grouse.
I love it. I could just totally see your dad's face.
Do you want to take a quick break before the next story?
Yes, we'll be right back after these messages.
All right, did we get the giggles out? We ready for another story?
Are we ready to come back from our commercial?
Here we go.
All right. So we're going to actually return back to Seguin Island Lighthouse for the second of the haunted stories from Seguin Island Lighthouse. So this is a legend that supposedly happened in the mid-1800s. You'll all remember the Seguin Island Lighthouse. I talked about it at length earlier. But in this particular story, there is a young caretaker and his young wife who moved to the lighthouse. As a young wife, she wasn't ready for the isolation that comes with being a lighthouse wife, and she fell into a really deep depression. And her husband, who loved her dearly, wanted her to be okay on the lighthouse property and wanted her to stay with him. So he decided that he would get her a piano.
That's a nice gift.
Isn't it, though?
Yeah, it's a really nice gift.
Oh, and so she wanted a piano. He got her a piano. In my mind, though, I'm thinking, because having two boys myself, would I ever, under any circumstances, get them a drum set?
No.
Right. And I kind of feel the same way about this guy getting his wife a piano.
No, piano's lovely.
So he orders the piano and he has it shipped out to the island. And it takes him quite a few attempts and maneuvers to get the piano off the ship, across the island, and up into the lighthouse keeper's quarters. So it's there in the quarters, and the wife is just thrilled. But it's getting to be wintertime, and they find out that there was only one piece of music that came with the piano. And the wife can read music, but she can't play anything without the music. And so those of you that are musically inclined, I'm sure you know the difference, but not everybody can just sit down and jam.
I'm the same way.
You can read music, but you can't just play.
Yeah. I'm a classically trained flautist, and I can play the flute all day long. Play the flute till I drop, but I can't come up with flute music. I got a D in jazz band because I couldn't do like improv solos.
Yeah, that seems fair enough.
Yeah. I did really well in orchestra camp.
Bible camp, orchestra camp, stuffed grouse, all sorts of fun
wild
stuff.
childhood.
Okay, so the one piece of music that happens to be included with the piano is a piece by Scott Joplin, and it's a ragtime tune. So the wife gets to work practicing day and night. And so for those of you that aren't familiar with what a Scott Joplin ragtime tune sounds like, here it is. That's just a sampling. So she starts playing this song, and she practices it day and night, and day and night. And winter sets in, and she practices it day and night. And no ships can come out to the island at this point because it's all iced in. And she's practicing this day and night. And she's determined to master it. And so the days turn into weeks and months, and the long isolation, paired with the constant playing of that song, the caretaker snaps. He walks outside and he grabs the wood chopping axe from the pile and comes in and proceeds to chop his wife's piano to smithereens.
I thought you were going to say chop his wife to smithereens.
And as the wife tries to reason with him and stop, please, he loses it and he chops her to smithereens as well.
Ooh, I was right.
You were right. I was trying to build to that.
Yeah, sorry.
As he calmed down a bit, the reality of what he has just done sets in. He's now killed his beloved wife, and he can't bear the guilt. So he ends up going off shortly thereafter and killing himself. So now here's where the ghost part comes in. There is often, by caretakers, by visitors, by mariners, anybody who's going by, they will hear this piano music just being played out of nowhere. And they'll go into the quarters and there's no one there. They can't hear the music anymore. Mariners will actually hear it out on the water. Like the wind will blow this piano music by them and they hear it playing. So it's the stone tape theory.
That's creepy.
Isn't it though?
Yeah.
And that's
creepy music. Like in that context.
There have also been reports of people seeing a ghostly figure walking across the island carrying an axe, like walking with that trudging purpose, like he's just lost his mind and is on his way in to chop up his wife's piano.
Here's Johnny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so, that's the story of the axe murder at Seguin Island. And also, Seguin Island Lighthouse, you can visit there by ferry. So if you wanted to go and catch the ferry out there and see if you could hear the ragtime music playing, go for it. Let us know how it works out.
Good story, Beth.
Thanks.
Do you have any other stories?
I do have one more story. Do you have any other stories?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
I have another story, but it's not a lighthouse. I like our lighthouse theme.
I like the lighthouse theme too.
Let's just go to yours.
All right. So the last lighthouse story that we have is from Pemaquid Lighthouse, also in the great state of Maine. So Pemaquid Lighthouse was built in 1827 and then rebuilt in 1857. It was automated in 1934. It was actually the first lighthouse in Maine to be automated. And in 1972, the quarters were converted to a fisherman's museum, and they did major restoration and renovations in 2007. So, like you were talking about earlier with your lighthouse that lasted 30 years and it had to be rebuilt, I'm kind of wondering, were the original ones built out of wood and the salt air just...
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I don't know what the original wood this was built out of. But...
Oh, I'd say mine probably, because they said it rotted.
Yeah. Oh, so I think that the salt air, and then they come back 30 years later and decide to build one out of stone, which stands up a little bit better to the weather. So the Pemaquid Lighthouse actually has a long history of having shipwrecks there at the lighthouse, even before the lighthouse was built. Apparently there's some sort of like really nasty type of stone there, and the geological formations as they go out into the water have been a real problem for ships since the quote, discovery of the New World. I believe that one of the earliest noted shipwrecks off the point there